which I think it'll be okay on every group
Okay.
except the.
I think we'll go ahead and get started. That's okay. Hello, everyone here and out there in TV land.
Is it going to be important for me to view the screen?
Yes, we'll have the screen available in just a minute.
I'm going to move close.
Oh, okay, you can. My name's Weston Rose. I'm right here, and I work in the Office of Graduate Studies, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the thesis dissertation template. We just unveiled a new version of the template, I think last week, so you'll find it online, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to navigate there right now. So I'm going to click Share Screen, Firefox, and let me actually go back to the home page. So, and please let me know if you need me to stop at any point. But from the home page, if you want to get a copy of the thesis dissertation template, go to the Graduate Studies homepage, which you can find by clicking Graduate Students on the left-hand side. This is our new website, which we refurbished to make it a little bit easier on you guys. We have a tab for thesis and dissertation. So if we look here, we have a lot of support. Number one, we have the thesis dissertation template, which we're going to download in just a minute, so please hold on just a second. There's a warning here that's going to tell us how to download that. But down here, if you look, we have Fall 2015 Transfer User Guide. A transfer user is someone who has started their thesis or dissertation in a regular Word document and then wants to transfer it to the template. However, if you're just starting off in a template, then we have a support guide for a new user. So that's someone starting off in the template, using it in that way. We also left up the spring guides, which was a different version of the template. In case you happen to be working in that, we didn't want to take away your support materials. And there are some other things that you might find useful later on, like the timeline and even our new electronic route sheet, which should help online students considerably because you don't have to come to campus anymore to send your route sheet. But let's go ahead and open the thesis. The way the thesis dissertation template. The way we do that is we right-click. So make sure, number one, that you're not on a Mac, but you're on a PC. We are trying to get a Mac version available, so we're working diligently on that. But right now, we only have a PC version. And please note that this works with a version of Word 2010 and up, okay? So you're going to right-click on the link, and you're going to save the link as. You're not going to open it directly, but save the link as. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop, but you feel free to save it wherever you need, if that's on a flash drive or what have you. So I'm going to save it there, okay? Now we're going to be finished with the internet, and we can go here. So if you can see where I am right over here, you kind of can't. I'll pull it over here. So I just saved it to my desktop. Now I'm going to open it. When Word finally chooses to open, you're going to, number one, you're probably going to see this yellow bar up here that says, I'm going to click off this, that says you need to enable the editing. So go ahead and click that so that we can use the macros. The macros are the keystrokes that are available to us, or not the keystrokes, but rather what makes the template function. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. So sometimes the bar won't pop up, but if it does, go ahead and enable the editing.
Hey, Weston?
Enable editing, yes.
Should I be able to see something on the screen?
Do you are you seeing the version of Word we have here, where I'm moving my cursor around?
I'm not. I see a blue screen.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I as well.
Oh, hold on one second. Dane's going to help us.
Okay.
Not sure what happened.
Technical difficulties. Or do we need to do Microsoft Word?
How's that? Y'all see it?
Not yet.
No.
Do you need to choose Microsoft Word?
No, we shouldn't.
I see the website.
Yeah, I see.
Okay.
Me too.
So where were you?
I was in a Microsoft Word document.
Oh.
Yeah. That's why.
I know why. Because when you switch to Word, you have to switch to Word here.
My apologies, guys. This is my first time streaming.
There we go.
Can you guys see this now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So like I said, if you're at the point where you see a yellow bar up in this area, go ahead and click Enable Editing and until that yellow bar goes away. Where you should be at this point is where you have this welcome box right here. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. So we're going to click next, and what's going to happen is another box is going to pop open. And I'm just going to put some false information in here. Feel free to put your real information. So my first name's going to be Stu. My middle initial is going to be L. My last name's going to be Dent. I stole that from a teacher. Yes, Susan.
Now, when I tried this on my home computer, I was able to get that pop-up.
Good.
On Sam computer, that pop-up did not come up. Is that?
If the pop-up doesn't appear, I'm going to try to move this over here in this region. What I'm seeing right here is a little what you can all see, but over here it says template help, and there's a smiley face, and you click on that, and that will reopen the pop-up box, and you can open that at any time.
Okay.
So the pop-up box is set to deploy, but just in case it doesn't, you can always click the smiley face.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
So you would fill out this information, including like when you're going to graduate. I'm going to pretend like I'm graduating in a long time. And then you would put your real dissertation title, but I'm just going to put a fake one. And of course, like right now, I'm just capitalizing things, but you would follow the capitalization convention specific to the College of Education. You would choose the degree type. I'm just picking a random one. You would pick the correct one. And then let's say language. I happen to deal with this department sometimes, so I'm going to use this one. Language, literacy, and special populations. This major here is more specific. So let's say I'm in this department, but I'm really getting a doctorate of literacy, I think it is. So I'm going to put literacy here. But if you were in criminal justice, you might say you're in the Department of Criminal Justice and your major is also criminal justice. So then we're going to click OK. Are you all with me still?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. So now in the next pop-up box, it says committee information. You're going to pick what's applicable to you. I'm going to pick, say, like 1 director and 2 readers. So then in the thesis director committee chair spot, I'm going to put, I'm a teacher. You would put the real thing. You would leave it as PhD. You can also change that if necessary to EDD or MFA. You'll want to check with your committee chair to see what their rank is. And then under here, you would put, the other names, and then I think, so we filled that all out correctly. We're going to change this to education because that's going to be the college. And then the name of the college dean. I think this is how you spell her name. And then that's going to fill out all of our information. It's going to bring this next screen that says, after you close this message box, you're going to see a new tab. Do you see this new tab up here, everyone? That's what popped up after the messages, the welcome box.
Okay.
So, so that's really what enables the functionality of the template. In the previous version, the spring version, we had a problem with the tab disappearing, but we think we fixed that. However, if you notice it occurring, please contact me. My name's Weston Rose. I work in grad studies. My email's really simple. It's westonrose@shsu.edu. That's WESTONROSE @shsu.edu. Or you can call us at 936-294-2408, and we'll get some help. But we do think we fixed that. It also says begin writing your dissertation. We'll go through some things in just a second. It talks about how it says on the SHSU tab, use headings, tables, figures, and other buttons as needed. We'll go through those. And there are some fields that are in orange type, and you'll want to fill out the orange type. Other fields are locked down, and I'll show you that in just a second. Also, we have a section for FAQs, and you can find that up here in this region. It's kind of hidden for me behind a screen where I'm looking at myself. But it says FAQs, and if you click on that and read through the different tabs, you'll see different problems that we have encountered and we've found solutions to. But if you find you encounter your own unique problem that perhaps we didn't anticipate, just let me know, and we can always add that to the FAQs. Okay?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is that welcome box like a one-time thing, or if something changes, are you able to go back into the welcome box?
Yeah, the welcome box should deploy at the outset, and then once you filled out your information, it goes away. And then when I click I've got it here, I'm not actually able to click on this information and type into it. See how I can't type into it? Even if it highlights it, it's locked down. But if you can see up here, Sandra, in this region, there's a smiley face hidden behind that
Same smiley
video.
face you were talking
You click
about?
on the smiley face, and it will redeploy the welcome message, and you're able to change that information at
edit.
any time.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
let's say I misspelled my name, I can go back and correct it. It's not lost forever.
As long as they're using Word 2010 or 13.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think that when we looked at, someone would be using an older version of
Right.
Word.
So if you're using Word 2007, the macros are not set up to work that way. So yeah, please make sure that you're using a version of Word 2010 and up. Okay. Now at this point where you filled out all of your information from the welcome boxes and you've clicked I've got it, we're going to go and do two things. Number one, we're going to click Navigation Pane, and that's going to bring up this little index right here that's going to allow us to move pretty swiftly through the document, and we can go directly to our Vita, we can go directly to our references, or we can, go to the front matter pretty quickly. So hopefully this works, and as you can see on the approval page, it's filled out all of our information of our directors for us, and we don't have to fill that out anymore. The next thing we're going to do is click this paragraph symbol, which I learned recently is called a pilcrow. So if you click on that, it shows the hidden formatting. So the hidden formattings, anytime you see this pilcrow, this paragraph symbol, that shows where there's a space where you've hit enter, or where there's simply a space. And then if you look between the letters, very minute, there's a little dot, and that shows a space in the, I'm sorry, I'm losing the word, but a space between words. And this is very helpful because it'll help you figure out where to put your cursor or just be able to see what you've done. There are some pages that are not necessarily, you don't have to have them. So let's say the dedication. Let's say you don't necessarily have to have a dedication. I would recommend having one. But if you don't want it, here's how you delete a page. You right click in the navigation pane, and then you click delete. You can't select it and then hit delete on the keyboard. That's not going to work. It's just going to delete the word abstract or letters of the word abstract. So you have to use the navigation pane in order to delete a page. Does that make sense? Now let's look, though, very quickly at the table of contents. If we look, I already deleted dedication, and yet it's still in my table of contents. Why is that? Well, what I have to do is I have to update all. Do you see in this section under navigation pane where it says update all, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so when you make a change in the template, click update all, and then that change will be reflected. And that includes when you add tables or when you add figures or what have you. You'll add them, but you won't see them in the list of tables or the list of figures until you click update all.
Kind of like you're doing labels in a...
Yeah. Where we've labeled things in the
from a
ribbon.
spreadsheet.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Well, yeah, we tried to make this version very user-friendly, and I have to say, Laura Carter, who works in the library, has done a really amazing job, and we're really pleased with it. So in the abstract, now you do have to have an abstract, so all that information has already been filled out here up at the top, so you don't have to do that, but you would have to write your abstract in here or copy and paste it. If you're copying and pasting from another document, make sure that when you paste, you have paste options and you click paste text only. That's really important because you don't want to carry over, like let's say you're working in a previous template, you don't want to carry over the code in that template and lay it on top of the code in this template. That'll scramble things.
The third one on the right. When you're
Right. The third one on the right that says keep text only.
Right.
The abstract itself needs to be no longer than 350 words in length, and there's also room for your keywords. And if you look, when you click on some of these fields, there will be a tab at the top that says, it gives directions like capitalize the first word and proper nouns in your keywords section, and spell out uncommon abbreviations. So sometimes when you click on these fields, like I said, there will be additional instructions if you just look at the tab up top. In the acknowledgments, again, this is an optional page. I think it's a great place to recognize everyone who's helped you, so you can have it, but you don't have to. The preface, I think, is also optional. Does COD use that a lot, Susan? No? So again, if you need to delete it, just right-click and click delete. I'm going to leave it there for now. And now we're in the table of contents. This is going to be fleshed out more as we work through the document. But if we look at the table of contents, or the list of tables, right now there's no content available because we haven't added it. Let's navigate to Chapter 1. This chapter 1 title is the reason it's the way it is because the library has an overall formatting, and then anyone from any department or college fits into the overall formatting for the library. So we're going to put introduction. If I can spell it, which I can't, obviously. Hold on, let me. All right. So what I'm doing is when I didn't do that correctly, I just pressed Control Z and that corrects problems. So introduction. All right, cool. Now I see where. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, you'd mentioned that the content is not yet available, like for the table of contents. You're still working on that?
Yeah, we're going to do that right now. I don't mean that it's not available for you guys. I just mean we won't see it until we create it, and I'm going to create it in just a minute.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to type some random. They're not even words, but you can type actual words. But I'm going to pretend like they're words by putting a space between them, and this is just my content. Like obviously I'm writing something real. Now I'm going to add. Let's say I need to add a second level header. Well, if you look in this is called a ribbon. So if you look in the SHSU Thesis ribbon, you're going to select the heading 2, and that's going to insert a heading 2 for you. It gives us instructions to capitalize the first letter of important words, so I'm going to say ELL data. I've never written an education dissertation, so I don't know what your headings would be, but you would put whatever is appropriate there. Then I'm going to add some more content where I'm describing what comes under that heading, right? And now let me add a third level heading. Again, the rationale is the same. You click third level header, and then it's going to add it. Let me navigate up so you can see it. So here we have our header. It says only capitalize the first letter and proper nouns. I'm going to put data again on, or maybe data on ELLs. And then you would put your content here right beside it, as is appropriate for third level headings. I can go ahead and show you guys how to add fourth and fifth level headers, but you had a question, Sandra? Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So, well, actually, a comment. Most of the time, when I see problems with students that have been using the other template, they keep writing within that box. So
Right.
Can you give a quick? I mean, I know you can look at the paragraph, or
Yeah.
what was it called?
The Pilcrow. But the paragraph symbol is probably
Paragraph
more,
symbol,
yeah.
To know that you need to be out of it, but just can you?
Yes, I can speak to that. That's a really good point too. So yeah, when you let me just go ahead and create a fourth level heading. So here, hold on, I gotta correct that. It is important that your cursor is in the right place. So let's say right here where I put data on ELLs, that's my third level heading, and here's my content. So I'm going to create a fourth level heading right where this paragraph symbol is here. So there we go. Let me navigate up to it. So obviously here it says in this section where it says click here to enter the subheading, what you want to do is only put your subheading. Don't include the subheading and then the content. So I'm just going to say header 4. So that's clearly my header 4. And then in this section where it says click here to enter paragraph text, that's where you're putting your actual content. And Dr. Skidmore was right. We had some problems before where students would, in just the header section, the subheading section, they would put all of their content, and that will create a problem. So do make sure that you're just being a little bit diligent and making sure that you're putting your header information there, but your content information separately here where it says click here to enter the paragraph text.
Now, what happens when, I'm sorry, what happens when you edit? You have to edit like a header name.
You can always go back into the header name, I think, and then just delete it and then put whatever you need there.
No update all or anything
No.
like that.
Well, obviously, once you add those headers, they won't be reflected in the table of contents until you hit update all.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when you put that header in the wrong place earlier,
Uh-huh.
how did you just go to undo? Or
Yeah, undo is Control Z. So, and some other helpful, you guys probably already know this, but if you press, if you highlight content and press Control C, that copies it, and then if you press Control V, it's going to paste it. So that's a really helpful little.
You should use those rather than use like an undo.
No, you can use undo. You could go back and do undo if you wanted as well.
Okay.
It's the difference between clicking a button with your mouse and
Right.
and doing a keystroke.
Right. Okay.
I
I'm
would
just
do all the
checking.
keyboard shortcuts you can.
Yeah.
Right, I know.
Right.
I use them too, but I
Right.
was just wondering if you did undo, if it would mess everything
No,
up.
you can still click
Okay.
undo and it'll work.
Okay.
And you had a question too.
Yeah, so when, I guess, and I'm not sure what they're doing because I'm not with them when they're writing it, but
Right.
when you click on a heading.
Here,
when
like
you
right here.
start- Yeah, so when you click on a heading, when you're starting a new heading,
Uh-huh.
you just click on it and start typing. They don't need to click and try and move anything.
No,
Just
so let me add another heading. I'll add a fifth level header here. So yeah, so I've added a fifth level header and I haven't typed anything in it yet. I'm just going to click on the field, which is what that orange lettering's called, and then I'm just going to type, whatever, my name into it, Weston, and that's going to be my fifth level heading. So I've typed the heading now, and then that's all I have to do. If
so
I
they can't just space over, which
No.
might be what they're doing. They need
Yeah.
to either arrow over or click.
They'll need to
Right.
click on the field. So first you'll click on the header field to enter the heading, and then you'll click on the content field to add the content.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, as a fellow computer,
Yeah.
as a former computer teacher, let me just kind of take a moment
Please
with
do,
the
yeah.
space bar. The space bar is not a formatting tool.
Uh-huh.
And so really in this document, it's only one space. Ever hit it once or at the end of a sentence, hit it twice. So never hit the space bar unless it's between.
Right.
So you can reiterate that again in a way that makes more sense.
Right. So yeah, you're just gonna like I said, and I hope I'm being clear. And please let me know if I'm not. When you add a heading, in the heading field, put your header, and then you'll click on the content field, which says click here to enter the paragraph text, and start typing your paragraph or paragraphs. More likely than not, paragraphs. And then I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
I'm Carol.
Carol. Like Carol was saying, you wouldn't space to do that. You would just click on the field to start entering your content. How do you guys feel about this?
I think it looks pretty
I feel
slick.
good about it.
Feel pretty good?
I love that.
Oh,
Boy, this one looks-
let's go back to the table of contents quickly, and I'll show you how it updates. So we went back here. We're going to click Update All, and as you can see, it's bringing in my first level header. It's not going to bring in my second level header. It's not going to bring in all of your headers. It's not going to bring in 3, 4, 5, but it will bring in your first and second, which the first is introduction, and the second is ELL data. Okay?
The best thing about it is it brings the page numbers in.
Yeah, definitely.
Appropriate page numbers. Now, the third and fourth level headings do have that text box. Does the first level heading also have that?
The first level heading was the introduction, so here it did have a text box. In fact, I can,
Can you put in another
yeah,
one?
let me go to chapter 2. I just
Okay.
clicked on chapter 2, guys. So, from the navigation pane. So as you can see, when I click on title of chapter,
Right.
in that field, that's where I can start typing.
But it doesn't have another one for type the text in here. Like you
No,
did.
yeah, so that's a good question. So let me just type something here. Let's just call it methodology because that
Method.
sounds like method. Okay, method. Okay, so that was the title, and once I type in the title of the chapter, that text box is going to disappear. But I can always click back on the word and edit it, so that's not a problem. But then when I'm ready to add the content in that chapter, I would click beside the paragraph symbol, and then just start adding my content, like that. Okay?
Is there anywhere in the document where there's people are going to do their own tabs, or do you have everything that's tabbed with a preset tab like you have in the table of contents?
It's I think it's set with a preset tab.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because tabs are evil too.
Yeah. Laura, who created the template, did a really great job of anticipating a lot of things, and she set the tabs to be preset. So when you hit enter and you start the next paragraph, you don't have to tab over. It already did it. Let's go ahead, if you guys feel comfortable, since I feel like we feel pretty good about the adding headers, but let's add another chapter. So she only preset chapters 1 and 2, but obviously you guys are going to have more chapters than that. So I would be, let's say I'm in chapter 2 and I need to add chapter 3. So I'm at the, I'm in the white space, right? I'm after I've added content. And then I'm going to click New Chapter, which is, again, in the SHSU Thesis ribbon. You see where my cursor is right here? And it's under the label that says Headings. And I click New Chapter, and boom, it added it right. It added Chapter 3 right here, right after Chapter 2. And I'll click in the title, and I would call this maybe Literature Review. Literature Review. Okay. Or probably that's out of order, so don't I'm just showing you how it functions. Don't, take this as the gospel. So, but anyway, so that's how we add a new chapter. And we also have appendices. So we put one appendix. But let's say you have 3 appendices. Well, this one you would probably call Appendix A. So I'm going to click in Appendix and write A. But I need another one. So I'm going to go to the end of the appendix here. And I'm going to, let me just type some content really quickly, like this is an appendix. And then I'm going to go again up in the SHSU Thesis ribbon under Headings and click New Appendix. Click New Appendix. Hold on a second. Oh, sorry. I did it twice and I didn't see it. So here's Appendix A again. It just doubled what I said, so I have to go back and change that to B. Go to the other one I created, which is B, and change that to C. And then once I do that, I can see that I have appendices A, B, and C. And just a word to the wise, if you have an IRB letter, I think that often comes to you as maybe a PDF. You can just go up and when you save it, and you can save it as a JPEG, and then you just basically import it. So it's really easy to do that. And if you guys have questions in the future about how do I get my IRB letter from here to there, we can easily answer that for you. But that's a really common thing. Let's go back to chapter 2, and I'll show you how to build some tables, okay? So pretend this is my content that I've added. You're always going to signal that a table's coming before you actually add the table. So I'm going to do that by just in parentheses saying C table 1. But there are a number of ways you could do this. You could reference it in the text itself rather than in parentheses. So then I'm going to click Enter. So again, you see where my cursor is in this white space, and I'm going to go to the table section. You have a choice between adding a 5x7 table, which is the default, or you can add a custom table. I'm going to do a custom table just to show you what it looks like. So then a pop-up box is going to appear, and it's going to say include the number of rows. Arbitrarily, I'm going to pick 8. But you would pick however many you needed. And then you're going to click OK. Then it's going to say how many columns do you need, the number of columns. Arbitrarily, I'm going to pick 9, but you would pick however many you needed. And I'm going to click OK. And then, boom, what happens is we have a table. So we already have table 1 listed. I'm going to label this. What do you guys think I should title this table? Because I'm out of creative energy today.
Picnic table.
Picnic table. I love it. All right, picnic table. That's clever. Okay, so you guys would add that. And then here, you would just want to make sure that your information is left justified. You can do that by, in this first row, the leftmost row, you can just click on one of these stars, which is representing information that you put there, and you would left justify it by hitting backspace. And this is, I believe, a requirement from the library. We can talk more about this, but you would simply start adding your data, right? Whatever your headers would be, and then whatever your information within the table, rows, and columns would be.
So there's not the functionality in that to do a line, like a center align, left align, or right align. You have to do the backspace?
You do the backspace with this one particular row, I believe.
Okay.
And then there's also room down here for a note if you need to add a note about your table. The other thing that I didn't spell picnic table correctly. The other thing you're going to want to do after let's pretend that we've fleshed this entire table out, we've added a note. Now what we need to do is cross-reference it. When you cross-reference, what you're doing is you're tying the table that you just created to the list of tables. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight table 1. And then I'm going to go up to the table section within the thesis tab, and I'm going to click table cross ref. When I click on that, a pop-up box will appear. I'm going to select the number that I want, right? Table 1. Click OK. And that cross-references it. And I can tell it's cross-referenced because if I click on it, it's highlighted. But also I can navigate back to my list of tables. So go to the navigation pane and click list of tables. And then here, it says no contents available, but that's because I haven't updated it. So I'm going to click update all, and there we have our picnic table, right? So obviously if we had tables, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of those would appear as well. I do want to add, I want to go back to chapter 2, and I do want to show you that you can create a split table. So, okay, let's see here. When we click within a table, the table editing section, which previously was grayed out and you couldn't click on it because you didn't have a table available to click in, is now available to us. And we have a lot of options. We can insert a row above, and that inserts rows. We can delete rows. We can insert we can insert a column to the right. We can delete columns. We can merge cells. We can auto-fit windows. We have a lot of options. I wanted to show you that when you split a table, which means where the table spills over 2 pages, one thing that happens is the header rows are automatically carried over. So whatever you wrote in the header row is going to carry over to the next page. The other thing that you would want to do is in this column, you would want to leave a blank space here so that you can go back and add custom table, which is, not custom table, but where you add continued. Table continued is what I meant, not custom table. So in that last section where the table splits, go back and add table continued. Oh, obviously I didn't add it in the right place. I can easily fix that by inserting a row above. It needs to be on the very last row where the split table is, and that just says, oh, hey, you need to keep reading this table because it spills over onto the next page. Do you guys have any questions about just how to build a table at this point? No? Let me show you then. How about out there in TV land? Do you guys have any questions? Hello?
Nope.
Okay, good. Sorry, I just didn't hear you guys.
No.
Let me. Good.
I do have a question about the formatting, though. So they'll need to align their decimals. That's done the same way as before.
Right.
I
think I know.
So the macro doesn't have anything to do with it.
No.
You can still do the formatting where you align the decimals.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So now what I'd like to show you guys how to do is just create a landscape table, because this happens from time to time. So, okay, I've added my information. Let me just go to the next page really quickly. And I'm going to, I really can't see with this.
Yeah,
Can I
right
move
there.
this thing, Dane?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, that reminds
But you
me.
can
We
click.
still
You're
use
trying
insert
to.
page
Oh yeah,
breaks.
yeah. Absolutely.
Just moving it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can still insert page breaks.
The section breaks, we've prevented a lot of the breakages because that was causing some problems for us, some of the section breaks. We'll go into the FAQs in a minute and read about that, but that's a good question. So the first thing that we're going to do when we're creating a landscape page is change the orientation. So again, in the SHSU Thesis ribbon under Landscape, we click Landscape Page, and then that changes the orientation. If I zoom out, you'll be able to see it. So obviously that's oriented as a landscape page rather than portrait orientation. Then we would add our table. Again, we would title this whatever we need, like maybe picnic table 2.
Water table.
Water table. Oh, I love that. Okay, water table. Water table. And then we'd put our information here,
Coffee
fill out the
table.
note, a coffee table. And then, we needed to cross-reference it, so we can do that really quickly up here. It added a page, which is just, it creates a section break and it adds a page between that, so you can think about that, format that accordingly. Page 2. Obviously, we'd cross-reference this really quickly.
Can we go over that cross-referencing?
Sure. So the cross-reference is, again, you're signaling that the table is going to appear before it actually appears. Mm-hmm. So I just put in parentheses C table 2, right?
Okay.
Then you highlight table 2 that you just typed.
Gotcha.
And then you go to the ribbon and you click table cross-ref.
Right.
And that's when this box will appear that says table number. I'm going to insert the table number. It's the second table. And then I click OK. So it's already cross-referenced it. But you won't be able to see that table 2 unless you go back up to the list of tables and click, like you said, update all. And there we go. We have water table.
Is the cross-ref going to be tied to that table of contents, or is the table itself? Because it could be on a different page.
Well, the table, let me see if I understand your question right. So you're tying the table, which you've already created, to the front matter, the list of tables.
Mhm.
So you have created that on, let's say, page 62,
Mhm.
but it would be reflected in the front matter of this page, which is a Roman numeral. Does that answer your question?
Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I put the cross-ref to say this is table 1.
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And let's say that's on page 10.
Right.
But the actual table is on the next page. Is the table of contents going to be tied to the actual table itself or to the text?
Let's see. I think it's tied to the actual table itself, but a nifty feature that we can, whenever you're in the front matter, like the table of contents, list of tables, what have you, you can click Control, and it's going to turn your arrow into a hand, and then click left click on it, and it takes you immediately to that page. So I believe, it reflects the table on the page on which the table is, not where you're cross-referencing it. So if the cross-reference was on page 4, but the table's on page 5, the table's going to show up on page 5.
Separate question. I know you don't have a separate template for the journal article format.
Right.
But one of the things that's different is you would put table 2.3 for the chapter. So could you type that in and it would be reflected in the TOC?
I think if whatever you label, let's just create another table really quickly and see if we can do that. So I'm going to blah, 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 and I'm going to say C, whoops, I turned all my caps on, table 2.1, and then hit enter, create a table. Oh, this says table 3.
Okay, so it's tied to that then.
Let's see if we can edit this though, 2.1. So I changed that.
Okay.
So now I'm going to cross-reference this one, and then I'm going to put 2.1, click OK. Let me put coffee table here just so we can tell. I love that we have this theme going on. We go back to list of tables and then hit update all, and it does say here table 3.
Yeah.
So I think that Laura is working on a journal model version.
Perfect.
We're also working on a Mac version. We're just not ready to unveil those yet because she has a lot of work up front to do, and we just finished fixing this one. But that's
Can I ask a question? Can I ask
Sure.
a question? If we have a Mac that has Word on it, will it work?
No, unfortunately, the thing is, Macs and PCs are different operating systems. So the functionality of one doesn't necessarily match the functionality of another. That's why we're going to have to create a version within Mac itself. I've tested it with a Mac that has Word, and some of the navigation pane will appear, some of the styles that have been customized for this version appear, but the tab doesn't appear, and you absolutely have to have the SHSU Thesis tab, the ribbon, in order to make it function. So Laura looked at the coding, we looked at it together, and she said, I think it'll be pretty easy to make a Mac version, but unfortunately we'll have to create it from scratch in Mac, and you can't use it even if you have Word on a Mac at this point.
Does Mac still have the programs where you can install Windows on it and use Windows on the Mac?
I think that, you can definitely put Windows on the Mac. It's just that because it's a different, and because you taught computers, that it's my understanding, and Dane, feel free to weigh in here too, is that it's a different operating system, and that's why it's not working. We tested it, we were hoping it would, but despite the fact we tried, I think it's called Windows 360 or 365, it's a new version. We tried it on that and it didn't work. We tried it on just a regular Mac that had a Word on it and it wasn't working. So Laura said, I feel pretty confident I can easily create one, but at this point, unfortunately, we're going to have to restrict you to PCs. But we're definitely putting our energies to create the Mac version, and we're also working on the journal model version, which are two other things that we will unveil in due time.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
Oh, that's okay. I was just wondering real quick, do you know what the due time would be? Do you have kind of a timeline as to when those might roll out?
Unfortunately, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, I don't have that at this point. actually, we just unveiled this new and improved version. I want to say last Wednesday, and
Right.
even though we had been working on it all summer, at the last minute we were having a saving issue, and Laura and I actually worked through the weekend to make sure that we could bring this out on the time we promised, which was Wednesday. So she recoded the entire template on Saturday. I came up on Sunday and tested the whole thing, found a little few bugs, and then texted her. And I won't go into the long story, but basically we just got this version ready, and so we need to figure out a timeline for the Mac version and a timeline also for the journal model. So we have some preliminary meetings set up with some different entities on campus, but at this point, unfortunately, I can't tell you when that is. I think that, one hopeful thing I will say is that if you, say, have a PC at home, you can always remote desktop in, and that might help you a little bit. If you're on a Mac, it still won't work, unfortunately.
Even if you remote into a PC?
I don't think it will, because it'll be a different. I think I'm right in saying that it's a different operating system.
Because even if you have Windows on the Mac, you're still going through the basic operating system.
Right. It's kind of like, how they say Macs never get bugs. It's because they're, I guess, built differently than PCs. Although now I've heard that Macs can get bugs, so maybe that's a myth. But yeah, they're set up differently, and that's why they won't communicate with each other, at least to the degree that we want them to at this point. But it has been on our minds to create a Mac version for a while, and we want to do it, but we are just working on a shoestring staff right now and doing our best to bring that to reality. As soon as I have a timeline, I'll be sure to communicate that with you. And certainly you guys might have received some emails from me. I'm pretty bad about sending out mass emails from grad studies. So whenever we make a change, we communicate it to everyone. So in a few days, you guys will be hearing about the electronic route sheet that we have. I just put in the order for the mass email, and I've just communicated to all the deans and everyone about that. So as soon as I know, you'll know.
How long did it take you even to put this template together?
It took us, this template, there have been many incarnations of the template. So we've been working on it. I've been in this job for 2 years, and they started working on it before I got here. So in those 2 years, we've definitely had several versions, and this particular one, we worked all summer. We worked all summer to improve it. And I think it's a lot more user-friendly than the first version. I don't know if you guys got to see the first version, but it's a lot more user-friendly. So,
now, Weston, as an alternative, is it possible? Because, Word has, these macros came from functions that are already available within Word. So if a student is doing either journal, I have quite a few students doing journal article format.
Right.
Or using Mac. Can we instead populate still the TOC using the functions of Word, and still, you can set up the headers however you want to within Word and modify them to your own.
You can. I think that there are going to be a few little trip-ups, because the journal model, from what I've seen, I've looked at a few journal model dissertations, and they are a little bit different because each chapter functions kind of independently, right? Or at least 3 of them do.
Right.
What I need to do is kind of sit down with Laura and also my dean, Dr. Robbins, and kind of talk about a timeline for these things. I don't think it's going to be very difficult at all to make the journal model, because she already has it set up. She just recodes a few things.
Right.
So I think we can have that out pretty soon, and if you guys have a big need for it, then we can move that forward.
I would say more than half of the students, I would say, even within, DevEd is smaller than the Ed Leadership.
Right.
And there's quite a few that are moving to the journal model.
Okay.
So we don't use this template for now? Those of us doing the journal model? We just start in our Perla or something?
Right. Only if you are using the traditional, go ahead and use this template.
Yeah.
However, if they use a Word document, once you have that ready, they can just...
Yeah, they can plop it over.
Just copy and paste it.
Yeah, copy and paste it. Let me have a conversation with Dr. Robbins and Laura. We just got this one rolled out, like I said last week, but Laura feels pretty confident that she can turn it around and have a new version for it. the only thing is when we create it, we want to test it, so to make sure that we don't put something out that's not functioning for you guys. But yeah, let me have some conversations with them. I know that not only is the College of Education wanting a journal model, but also our new doctoral degree in forensic science, they're wanting to do there are different entities that want journal models. So I know it's something that's very pressing, and we can definitely make that a reality.
To go address Fawn, you mentioned Perla. Don't write in Perla and copy and paste into the Word macro, because they're both macro-based programs. You might have issues. So just write in a Word document and copy and paste from Word.
Okay.
But yeah, you won't be transferring anything yet until they get but okay, so there's some students that have already, or there's some students right now that are in proposal stage, going to be defending next semester, probably. So for those students, and I know at least one of them is journal article format, they can work without the template.
They can work without the template, and they would just follow those overarching library guidelines that we have available online. I think that I might have to update those just pretty briefly, but I'll take a look at those and make sure that we have those available. And then I'll also have a conversation about trying to find out when we can turn around a journal model version. One other thing, so we've, just to summarize what we've done, we've, deleted a page from the navigation pane. We've updated, our table of contents and our list of tables. We've created tables. Figures are pretty much the same. So let's say we go to this chapter 2 again, and we see where we have this table, but then below here, I need to add a figure. I'm going to add some content. All right, and then I'm going to add a figure. It's the same basic principle where I go to, let's see, tables, figures. In the ribbon, we have the ribbon. We would create a new figure by selecting new figure. So I need to, okay, there we go. It added 2 because I clicked it twice. Be a little patient, unlike me. And then when you click within the figure, you can import a picture if you have it there. I believe you can also create word art by, I think you click insert, and then where is word art? Oh, smart art it's called, not word art. And then if you click on this, then you have a lot of different options of different, like if you have a process and you need to reflect that, you can select these. If you have a pyramid or a cycle, you can select from those and import those. A lot of times people are importing graphs that have already been created. Just make sure that you're able to get the copyright for that. You'd want to check with the library, but that's the only thing I would say. Oh, I guess maybe I would say one more thing, which is that you're going to want to import that as black and white, I believe. If you have tables or you have charts or something, make sure you're not importing it in color, because the library won't print in color and it'll come out looking strange. So if you say have a bar graph and one bar is blue, another's yellow, instead of doing that, you'd want to select it so that one bar is like solid and the other is striped, so that we could differentiate. You would click here to insert a caption with the figure, obviously, and then you would also want to cross-reference your figure before that, so I would say see figure 1, and just like we cross-reference the tables, we'd want to select from the thesis ribbon figure cross-reference, select what cross-reference it is, click OK, and then caption it like figure 8. There we go. And then go to the list of figures, click Update All, and then it's going to come in as figure 8, right? So the caption is below the figure.
Okay, can you explain what cross-referencing is? I think I'm a little lost on what you're meaning. Does this mean that it will just change the page number as you write more and it gets stuck on a different page?
No, well, what the cross-reference does is, like, first you have to create the table or the figure. So once you create it, then basically we want to make sure that that table or figure is reflected in the front matter, which is going to be the list of tables or the list of figures.
Okay, so it just sticks it back in the table of contents. All right, that's easy.
Right.
Sorry.
It lets you know what page it's on. Yeah. And it ties it to the functionality of the template so that you could, because the way that the template works is in the list of tables. Let's say I'm the thesis director and I need to go to copy table on page 6. Well, if I just press control and then it turns into the hand and I click on it, it's going to take me to page 6. So to enable that functionality, I have to cross-reference it, or else it won't. They won't know where the table is, and it won't be pulled into the list of tables.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure thing. And I have a habit, a terrible habit, of I work with this thing all the time, so I just gloss over things that are not apparent to other people. So my apologies up front. But it's like, oh, well, you don't know how to cross-reference. It's like, well, of course you don't. This is your first time doing this. But I've just been working with several templates. So, okay, in the, one more thing I wanted to say about tables is when you're working with the table, let's say you're a transfer user and you've already created 10 tables and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to just recreate every table. Here's how you can copy and paste it over. There's a specific way, but there is a way. So number one, let's say I had a 10 by 10 table in my previous document. What I want to do is in the template, create another table that is 10 by 10. Then I want to copy the information from the document 1, and when I go to paste it in the table in document 2, I'm just going to select keep text only, and it will paste all of that table information in the template table. That way you're not totally having to recreate it. So I think that's very helpful, but just make sure that you're pasting text only, because otherwise you would be laying one table on top of another one. It will mess up the formatting, and especially if you're moving from one template to another template, what you don't want to do is lay code on top of code. That will scramble things. Okay.
So also, when the copy and pasting, if we start writing and we want to copy into our body, that's also copy plain text.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Copy plain text, and obviously, like, if you've already written in a plain Word document and you have all your headings, you will have to recreate your headings. Mm-hmm. That is one thing you'll recreate. Now, you would recreate it and you could copy the heading right over. That's not a problem.
That'd be a pain.
But, what you don't want to do is just copy all the text with the headings that you put in manually in your previous document here, because those won't be picked up in the table of contents. Okay?
So could we write in, like if I started off writing in this and then I switched to journal, could I copy from this to that with plain text, or just put it in a plain Word document and don't even try anything else but this?
Well, okay, you're talking about moving from the template to a plain Word document.
Yeah. No, moving from one template to another. Just never do that?
No, you can move from one template to another. Again, you would just want to make sure that you are copying the text only, because you don't want to. Otherwise, it's going to bring everything over, including the code, and you don't want to do that. Okay. So in terms of your references, the hanging indent is already preset. So I'm just typing my references. Again, if I'm a new user, this works fine because the formatting's set up, and when I'm done with that reference, I hit enter, and again, the hanging indent's set up for me. However, let's say that I have already, again, I'm a transfer user. It's really simple. You copy all the references you've already done, and you paste the text only, and it's already set up for you.
But then you lose all the italics.
You might lose the italics, and so you'd want to then go through and just look at it and make sure, okay, well, did it come over? It may not have, so you'll want to go back and re-italicize those. So unfortunately, just a little work there when you copy the text only.
A question about, so if you're using either the reference function available within Word or something like EndNote, is that going to work with that macro? Because EndNote is a macro, isn't it?
That's a great question. And actually, we just had someone from chemistry who had been working in the spring version of the template, and he was using EndNote just fine.
Oh, good.
Then he was trying it in the new version that we just unveiled, and he wrote to me and he said, hey, I'm having a problem with this. So I started looking into it. And what we think happened was they just rolled out an update at the university, and we think that it's not a template issue, but rather just an update issue. anyway, that student and the reference librarian, Michelle Martinez, are going to have a meeting, and we're going to look into this and say, was this the update that prevented EndNote from working? We're also going to try to bring in myself and Laura Carter so that we can see if it is a template issue to get that fixed immediately. But at this point, we don't think it's a template issue.
Okay.
And that's one thing I would say is, one thing about technology is it inspires, as we all know, a lot of fear in people. And a lot of times something will happen and they'll say, oh my gosh, it's the template. Like, for example, when I look at this, we don't see, because it's not expanded fully, you can't see the smiley face. And this happens sometimes, like, let's see if I can move it a little bit. When I expand the whole thing, you might say, oh, I don't see the smiley face, but if I can make it work. Oh, it's not going to work for me. But the way that some of it's set up is if I click on it, well, then I can see the smiley face in the FAQ. When I look at the template on my personal computer in my office, the smiley face and the FAQ are already up there. It's only when the screen is kind of minimized that you see this square with the green circle in it. But you just click on it, and there it is. So we can click back into the smiley face or whatever. So some of these aren't really even issues. It's just a slight thing that it's not a template thing. It's just, oh, the screen's minimized, or maybe they've rolled out an update IT has or something like this. Which, I mean, not that it's IT's fault either. I'm just saying that, IT's great. I love IT. So, I also love SHSU Online. So, but anyway, there are other. I'm just saying there are other things besides the template sometimes that could be causing an issue. I think that one thing that we might do, I can also show you if you guys want, like the appendix, but we kind of talked about that, and also the Vita. It's kind of laid out for you what it needs to look like, what the Vita needs to look like. You can click here and import it. You can fill it out as it's kind of an example for you here. But one thing I did want to show you quickly is, before we run out of time, are the FAQs. So when I click FAQ, a pop-up box will appear, and we have all these general things. Like one that you might look at is, I've deleted my dedication acknowledgments or preface page, but I've decided that I would like to include it. Well, this shows you how to re-add a page if you need. Or let's say I'm in figures and tables. How do I connect a reference to the table or figure itself? It gives you more thorough instructions. So if you're ever lost, make sure that you're clicking on template help, or you're looking, for the FAQs under template help, and you click on the section that's available to you. One thing I did want to say, and Laura's going to fix this for us, is I noticed that in terms of EndNote, if you do need some help, she tells you to contact the reference librarian, but this number is wrong. She wrote 3548. It's actually 3584. And she was just typing quickly, and I wrote to Laura, and I was like, hey, can you change this? Because I called it, and it took me to IT. And so we want to make sure that we get that right. She also included a link to the library guides for EndNote right here. But this will give you some additional information that will be helpful. And in addition to the FAQs, and also if you remember when we were on the grad studies page, I showed you the new user and transfer user guides, which they used to just be all text. And then we decided, that doesn't work for everyone. Some people are visual learners. So what we did is we included a lot of screenshots that show you exactly where to click. So I think that'll be a lot easier for you guys. But on top of that, we have been working on some instructional videos, and we created them, and now we're just editing them. So we plan to roll those out on September the 15th, so in just a couple of weeks, really, and make those available to you. And that way, you guys who are really distant students, and you don't have the luxury of just coming to campus and sitting in a face-to-face workshop, you guys can still get that help. We're also planning some webinars later on in the semester for online template students. Yeah. Now, at this time, do you guys have any questions here or abroad?
You're doing videos as well?
Yeah, we are. We've created the videos, but it's how like you write a paper and then you have to edit it? Well, we created it and we thought that we were done, but then we changed our website, so we were like, well, we're going to send them to the wrong place. So then we have to go back and change that. And then there were just a few things about the template that changed, so we want to make those changes. And we don't want to put out incorrect information.
That's coming semi-soon.
We promised September 15th, so I'm going to do my best to meet that deadline. We just have to bring our talent back into the studio and make those changes.
Any do's and don'ts from, like, just the format? You know, right now all I've done is type words on a document. I'm getting ready to try to start this.
Start transferring it?
Yeah, any do's and don'ts? In other words, that just I have lined up home computer and laptop to both be 2013.
Good.
So, but if I started elsewhere, if I work from, you know, wherever it may be, any do's and don'ts there?
Yeah, maybe a couple of do's. Number one, you know, do check to make sure that you're wherever you're working on the template, that you're working on a PC and that you're working in a version of Word that's 2010 or up.
But if you do one on 2010 and then 2013, does that matter?
That shouldn't break it.
Okay.
That shouldn't break it. Sometimes when you move between it, this is a souped up Word document. And sometimes when you move between versions, it could trigger something, but Laura thinks that she has all of those kinks figured out. If you ever run into a big problem, you know, you can always contact the thesis clerk. We've included their number in the FAQ. You can call me in grad studies, you know, and we can get you help if you just encounter a problem that you don't know what to do with. But back to those do's and don'ts. Again, do, you know, make sure the version that we talked about. Also, when you're entering information, do mind where your cursor is. So, for example, if I put my cursor in this table and I forget where my cursor is, and then I add another table, it's going to put that table in this table. You can always back up. You can always click Control-Z and undo what you've done, but just make sure that you're mindful of where your cursor is.
Control-Z is a lot better than trying to delete stuff.
Right.
That can mess up stuff really
Right.
badly too.
Just click undo, and that'll work. Control-Z is a savior. And then I guess a big don't panic. You know, I mean, this is meant to help you. This is meant to make your life easier, not harder. Of course, you know, the thing about technology is that you can't always anticipate everything. So if you do encounter something, you know, no one's going to prevent you from graduating because the template went berserk, which hopefully it won't, but I don't think it will. But let's just say, worst case scenario, it does. No one's going to prevent anyone from graduating. You know, we're here to help you. You can find help. You know, bring the problem to us and we'll figure out how to solve it. But I really do think that Laura has ironed a lot of the kinks out of the previous versions, and it's been a real pleasure to, you know, work with you guys and to see the evolution of this document. It's really become something that I think is very sleek and impressive. And I just do want to, you know, kind of like say something very nice about Sam Houston and the Office of Graduate Students Studies right now, is that when I look at other versions of templates available at A&M, available at other, not every university even has a template. Some just tell you, here are the rules and this is what you have to do, and, you know, go do it. So not every university has a template, but those that do, they don't, at least the ones that I've seen, are not as sophisticated as this one. So you guys have a really great document here that isn't available to everyone at every university, and I think that's super impressive.